Uh, a very good evening to our dear participants, and we are pleased to come to you again uh, with a very pertinent and uh, relevant topic of this time: how to uh, uh, go further for data-driven recruitments. This is more than an understanding, but this is the need of an hour to ensure that we understand the data-driven recruitment. And for that, we've got Mohit with us. Mohit is our product head. He leads all the products for Team Leads as a group, and he's with us who will take us through uh, what is the understanding on data-driven recruitment and how is the data-driven recruitment solution of Team Leads HR Tech solving various business problems that we have. So over to you, Mohit.
Thank you. Thank you, Sumit. So welcome everyone, warm welcome, and thank you for taking time out today. Uh, I think we'll start with a brief understanding on the concept first, and then we'll dig deeper into it. So as the topic suggests, understanding data-driven recruitment, what exactly is it going to help? Why we need it? Why we need it now? Is something we are going to discuss further in this session. And with the HR roles becoming more and more challenging, and the demand is asking for transformation on all levels. That's why we are focusing on this topic in the area first, and we'll keep the agenda simple. We have kept it uh, to the precision of that. We'll introduce you to the topic. We'll tell you the importance of it. We'll make sure that to tell all the initiation stages, what metrics matters in these cases, how we are going to optimize these metrics, and where the ATS comes into action, and what is the way forward if you're an organization looking towards this. So what major problems are we looking at to be solving from this is the overall poor candidate experience, the ineffective sourcing strategies, lengthy time to fill the positions, or a poor quality or a candidate experience altogether. Then the higher cost per higher ratio, and then there is inefficient candidate screening time altogether. So these are the things which we'll talk more about. Let's start with a basic introduction to the topic. And data-driven talent acquisition in itself is very simple in conceptual understanding. It talks about how data is being used at every step of the process to optimize and to take a feedback in order to recreate or revise the solution approach. And within the data-driven talent acquisition, we have majorly 6 areas which we look at. And these 6 areas are not hierarchical in nature, they are more of sequential in nature. So that is, on first part is the data collection, where we talk about gathering relevant data from all the sources, which can be databases, surveys, sensors, or online platforms. The next part to it is the data pre-processing. Before we start analyzing any data, we need to pre-process it, and that basically means cleaning it, organizing it, or transforming into a data which can be compatible for the analysis, or it ensures the quality of the data and the sanity of the data. The third part of the process talks about the data analysis, which is applying a statistical or applying analytical techniques to extract insight out of it. Because data in itself cannot help you out unless and until we are able to extract the right insight, identify some patterns, or uncover some relationships which within the data, which can help us analyze it further. Then the fourth point talks about data visualization. Now, after analysis, if we are not able to analyze the data with a proper visualization, we'll not be able to make out the action steps over it. So with that, basically charts, graphs, dashboards, what suits an organization needs to be decided while visualization, finalization. And then there is a decision-making process where the insights from the data are used to guide the decision-making process, and the actions can be taken accordingly. And the last step, as most of the agile way always iterates, is monitoring and iteration basis the continuous collection of data and evaluating the impact of those, and then adjusting the necessary decisions. So these are the 6 major steps which involve which becomes a part of data-driven talent acquisition. We'll talk a little about the importance now, that why is it important, and with the time we are in, I think it is very much evident that the problem statement we are trying to solve are majorly common, like cost optimization or faster recruitment, higher productivity from the recruiters as well as the talent acquisition leads. These are the common statements across the organizations, and there is nothing new about it. We all need to have an unbiased approach, a quantitative and a predictive analysis which is attached to it, and that's the importance which is there in almost every organization we are dealing with, and where we are able to service and help out the customers. These are the top 7 areas we have been able to identify. If you have more than these, we'll be more than happy to take them in the Q&A, and we'll be able to detail them out in our roadmap further.
Yeah, thanks, Mohit. As we proceed further, we have a 100 plus registrations on LinkedIn. So just wanted to ensure that Rahul, that we are LinkedIn live, right?
Yes, I just got a confirmation from him. We are LinkedIn live.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So just to add, Mohit, this is the result of our lakhs and lakhs of candidates whom we have recruited over past few years. And if you talk about the total history of the organization, we must have recruited millions of candidates, not only directly for us, but also for our clients as well. And the presentation or the knowledge capital that we have built into the platform or into the entire approach is based on our real practical experience where the rubber has met the road. So that's what Mohit is taking us through in in details.
Thank you. So let's hold on to the importance for a little while, Rahul. Okay. So let's talk about few of these and in a brief, and then we can move forward. When we talk about cost optimization, we usually talk about the recruitment process, which can be specifically channeled, and it utilizes the minimum amount of resources from all. And data-driven approaches enable us to do that, and there is a cost effectiveness we can bring in. When we talk about faster recruitment, then it is about time to hire. And within time to hire, we talk about identifying the bottlenecks, identifying the process failures, identifying what areas can be automated or where the data can be historically used. Then talking about higher productivity, we need to understand where are the manual steps and what needs digitization and what needs digitalization. Between the automated transition of the stages, we can increase the overall productivity of an talent acquisition team if we apply the right amount of automation here. Then the candidate experience, needless to say, that one of the most important point, because that's the first picture of the organization, that the first entry point for any candidate to experience a digital ecosystem of an organization. That's why it becomes important. Accurate forecasting, clear goals, and continuous improvement. I think we'll talk about it more once we'll move into the next session of it. Now, talking about data-driven and traditional approach. So with this, I think we need to step back and understand why we are talking about it right now, because HCM data-driven approach can be implemented in all areas, be it performance, be it talent, be it managing life cycle. But the major challenge in total, if you see, starts with the talent acquisition. So that's where we need to compare the traditional and the data-driven approach to understand what decisions we will be making, which will help us in order to evaluate whether this is doable for our business or whether it is important for our business to implement. So traditional approach usually is subjective, and in that you can see that the decision making is often on a judgment, on a subjective judgment, personal experiences and intuition. It is highly relying on recruiter own assessment of the candidate, and it can contrast in different cases. On the other hand, on the data driven approach, we leverage the data, we leverage the metrics, and we leverage the insights. We don't only go with the emphasis on a biased decision making. Then this, and these all points are mostly are self-explanatory. The transparency talks about whether a subjective and a distributed data is kept in record and is auditable. Because if we are not able to audit any previous data, we are not sure the decisions that were made at that time were genuinely right, or are they helpful in making the further decisions. If we talk about automation, then the mix of semi-automated and a manual steps basically outside the system is taking a lot of time and consuming a lot of resources from the recruiters as well as from the candidate. Now, having a seamless integrated system, on the other hand, through the data-driven approach, can help you in minimizing the time up to 80%. And we will be able to present few numbers around it. Now, with limitation like we have in sheets and sharing the mails and normal separated systems talking to each other through people, it always becomes a bigger challenge when it comes to collaboration. And ATS as a platform, once it is enabled for an organization, gives you a single platform for all recruiters, candidates, interviewer, panelists to get on a single board and look at what they were supposed to do, where they are, what can be done, and how effectively they are performing in the overall cycle. Then, in the traditional approach, identifying any issue is very unstructured. It is an approach which takes a lot of time altogether, and it's delayed through different inputs and the output areas. But on the other hand, if we have data-driven approach in hand, we can analyze the ongoing data, and we can make sure the optimization is also in place. So we always fail forward. That means we make some progress and then we encounter the next thing. It's not like we create a plan for 3 to 6 months and then go forward like in the traditional approaches we used to do. Then the last one is accessibility. And instant access to a dashboard and the interpreted data within insights available at any point in time of the day give you an ease of working from anywhere. But in the traditional approach, the real-time data and collection itself is so manual that collating a report from the system or multiple system in one go and getting insights over it take number of days for a single step to get covered. Now, if we have to move forward and look at if we have to start, what should we start with? And basically, if we have to begin this journey, there are total 8 steps of the journey. We will cover each step in little detail, and we'll be able to identify how much successful it will be for your organization by understanding your need once we'll get into the Q&A also. So
So
the first step,
Mohit, just suppose we don't want to follow a data-driven approach. So, I mean, is it as per our experience, how does it affect the overall approach to recruitment? If you can just based on your experience, you can just give some practical life examples of
Right.
what a recruiter faces if he doesn't use this approach.
So I think it's an interesting question because the answer lies in the challenges which recruiters are facing today. So the most common problems and challenges which we have been able to list down are the inefficient candidate screening, where the traditional screening methods are consuming time, they are subjective. Then every recruitment process is becoming more and more costlier by day and day. Every job role is asking for more resources, and without this approach, we are not even able to identify what is the cost effectiveness we can bring. Then the third challenge is around the poor quality of resources which are being hired, because there were biases, then there were organizational culture and the crucial success metrics which were not followed, and there are no processes in place to identify where the miss happened. And then there is a lengthy time to fill. That is it. The vacant positions are taking a lot of productivity loss in terms of increased overloads on the employee or the recruiters to fill in every position.
So
And
essentially, that means that it is if we do not take a data-driven approach and follow the traditional approach to recruitment, then certainly there is a business impact that some of our in some of our experiences, the recruiters or the organizations which are not using this approach have seen.
yes, absolutely. And most of the organizations which starts with us, they are facing not one actually, three or more challenges out of nine. So it can be time, it can be process, it can be the quality, it can be experience. And so at least three of those nine are there with almost all organizations which who are not using this approach.
Okay, please. And that's interesting, Mohit. Thanks.
Sure. So we'll start with defining the hiring goals and metrics right in the start of the process. So I'm sure you'll be able to read out. I'll add on certain insights over it by identifying key metrics and indicators that that are relevant to a talent acquisition. We usually include the problem areas and challenges which your organization is facing. It can be time to fill, it can be cost per hire, it can be quality of hire, or an experience or source to hire. And once we define these matrices clearly, we can identify how we have to measure them. And a measurement can be done based on each job category. It can be done based on organization or the domain, and we can define the parameters. But that's the first step to begin with. So overall, if we have these indicators in our hand ready, then the process can be aligned around it. The second step is usually the identifying the relevant data sources. And we talk about data sources, it can be any data source. It can be databases, it can be interview records or the candidates in pipeline, and evaluate the effectiveness of different data channels and like job boards, social media, referrals, because adding more data channels is one part of the activity, but identifying what is effective for your organization and how you are able to measure the quality and quantity of the candidates generated from each source is the second part of the equation, which is more important in data driven approach. The third steps talk about the data collection methods. Now the data collection methods should be appropriately decided as per the organization. Collecting data from each source may involve multiple procedures in different organizations. We usually prefer an online, and we ask for information to be collected in advance for all the employment needs. And the ratios of companies who have adopted this have increased in last couple of years, and we can see the application rates, in interview to hire ratios, the performance data of hired candidates, all can be baselined. And based on this baselining, we have the analysis and comparison between each stage. So data collection method plays a crucial role once you have your metric decided. Now, the fourth step, which is the major step of the activity, is once you have your data collection method with your data sources and metrics, we need to implement all that under a single system in a single umbrella. And we usually name it as ATS, the applicant tracking system. Now, to utilize an ATS, it's basically streamlining all the process together with the valuable input data and automating the resume screening and candidate tracking progress altogether in a pipeline. So that's something which an ATS helps you to do. In a summary, it automates the end-to-end life cycle of an employee from pre-hire to joining. So that's where the ATS plays its core role. And the last, not the last, basically, the fifth step of it talks about analyzing the data and identifying the pattern. So once you have the ATS in place, you have data in place, you need predictive analytics to assess the candidate success and fit. Now, analyzing historical data to identify this pattern becomes a key success factor. And it helps you characterize what kind of hires you are making. And this can help you in predicting the likelihood of success also. In basic attributes, if you have the basic attributes ready, this data can give you a lot of insight about what kind of quality your recruitment team as well as the panelists are able to cover. The sixth step of the process talks more about data informed decisions, which we have already talked about, and this is one of the area where the revision of the process starts, that making the data work for you. With the insights you have gained from that data, you can make those decisions, compare those candidates based on that objective data points, and the stores and the scores from interview assessments or interview performance or language and communication can be used for the further optimization of the process in the way we look at qualified candidates. And there can be different scoring systems. There can be weighted analysis, there can be t-shirt sizing, there can be evaluation around skilled, upskilled, and semi-skilled and unskilled on different categories. And that rating scale can be anything based on your organization, but this is important to make decisions and where we need to iterate.
Yeah, just imagine a scenario where you got, say, a recruitment happening in 4 different places or by 4 different recruiters. And how do we get a uniformity? It is only through a data-driven informed decision making using the same parameters, so that the quality of the candidates who are moving from one stage to the other stage are absolutely controlled. We get the right people for the right seats at the right time. And that is where the differentiator comes between an organization which is using a data-driven approach by leveraging technology versus another organization where there is a lot of subjectivity which comes in when you are recruiting a particular candidate.
And with that decision, thank you, Sumit. And with that decision making, I think the last two steps are the ones where we have focused in the agile way and we have talked about it is monitor, evaluate, iterate, and improve. So monitor and evaluate becoming the seventh step, the second last step of the process, where we continuously monitor the data, we continuously take it into our key matrices and we keep a track of it. And then in the last step, we use this evaluated data to iterate and improve on the process based on the feedbacks we are able to receive out of it, or based on the trends we are able to identify or the pattern we want to change. So those can be the areas which can be used to enhance the overall accuracy and effectiveness of your hiring decisions. So with that, we have covered the 8 steps of implementation. We will look at some of the key matrices which are important, and these are the matrices. You can see these are the ones which matter the most in majority of the companies, and we have mentioned them a couple of times now: cost to hire, time to hire, candidate experience. And now we'll talk about how this metrics is basically important and how we can optimize it. So let's take it one by one. So cost to hire being the first metric, this metric calculates the average cost incurred to fill a job vacancy, which can include expenses on sourcing, advertisement, recruitment tool, overall recruitment process. And tracking this metrics helps an organization to evaluate the cost effectiveness of the recruitment effort and the identify area where the cost can be optimized. So this metric itself becomes the first metric if we are talking about anything from a monetary basis. Now, how we can optimize it? The first answer to that is something which is implementation of ATS, but the other answers is through investment on the intuitive career side, automating the initial screening form through the ATS tool itself, then building up a social media platform which can tie up from your tool, and then creating a reward and referral program in addition to it. So in addition to implementing technology, we can have multiple channels working with us on different areas to optimize that metric in other ways. Now, if we come to time to hire, then this metric measures the average time taken to fill a job vacancy for a for the moment it is open till the candidate is hired. So basically, it helps you access the efficiency of a recruitment process and identify any bottlenecks. And those bottlenecks, if they're creating delays that are beyond our control of automation, then how they need to be addressed. So in this, we can do certain areas which are very relevant in nature. Is we can start defining the jobs more clearly on the system. We can broaden the sourcing channels by adding new channels, and we can use the technology and automation in a way where we define the process which is easiest for the recruiter to pass through. And then we make sure that we have a collaborative hiring across the system by different recruiters getting on the same platform, and the time of taking decision is extended only to a process time. It's not taken forward, and or it's continuously optimized as per the hiring processes.
I think we've taken a lot of details in terms of your experience and how we have actually productized and packaged the entire data-driven approach into a very interesting product, which will help us in optimizing the time to hire, cost of hire, and the candidate experience. All the three critical and some of the other critical quality parameters. I think in the interest of time, why don't we take our participant through some of the screens, and then probably then we can take it from there.
Sure, we can do that. Sumit, I think we'll spend 1 more minute on these because we are almost in the middle of it. So let's spend a minute more and then we'll jump to the screens in the benefit of time for everybody.
Sure.
So quality of hire, usually talking about what is the quality of hire, and it's crucial to assess the effectiveness of talent acquisition. This metric usually evaluates the performance and skill and fitment of the hired candidates. And few of the areas which can help us in making it more optimized for the organization is conducting structured interviews, having the panelists in advance and their pipeline in the system, involving the key stakeholders, The next part, which comes as a first point or a first touch point to a candidate, is the candidate experience, which talks about the essential of attracting or retaining the top talent. So we can optimize it in multiple ways, and every organization is trying to figure out an approach. If they're not following a data driven approach, they are trying to make it more seamless, or they are trying to automate the first part of the journey. But I believe all these steps are required in order to create a system and a data driven approach, which are mentioned on the screen. I'm not going through everything. I believe we are able to go through, and I'm only giving you insights around it.
Also, we'll be able to send some part of the presentations with relevant information to all our participants on the email ID. So then I think that will be
That will be great.
more informative.
Yeah. On the conversion rate, we measure the percentage of candidates who move from one stage to the other, and it follows till the last stage of recruitment process. Tracking the conversion on each stage is important, and it can be from the application to interview to offer to the effectiveness of the candidates who have been joined. So it helps you identify the areas of improvement in terms of recruitment funnel. So few of the things which we can do to optimize this is create a pre-requirement assessment, collaborate with stakeholders to get more understanding on the profile, getting the detailed job analysis to create job descriptions which are more relevant to that role, and the combination of assessment and interview and skill on the platform itself, so that not to waste time and move that through quickly. Diversity, I think we can move for now. It's pretty much clear and evident. Now let's look at the screens. Few of the screens from our core product, which helps our customer on day in day out basis. This is the regular dashboard which a recruiter sees once they join in, and you can see how we've kept it clean and simple for them to track which is the stage where the candidates are lying, and how many candidates are lying in that particular stage. If the action needs to be taken, can be taken from a drill down from any of these, and even a simplified pie chart of where the most of the saturation is lying right now, in which process step can be actioned upon. And this is the kind of view we try to keep in our product, which is simplified for a recruiter. And then if a management or a recruiter have to report it, they don't have to go out of the system. They can simply fetch out the reports on 15 days or 30 days or any time period, based on offer mates, joining pipeline, candidates pipeline, within the same period, how many moved to other stage. So these kind of reports can be very quickly fetched out, and they are real time available on the system. Now, tracking each area with this kind of simplicity first gives an impression of simplicity into the mind of recruiter, where they don't have to keep a manual tap of different sheets or records or mails. They have everything compiled at one place, and it becomes a single source of truth for the management to identify that if the optimization they have made or the tool they have chosen is giving them the right output. Then apart from this, if you look at it into more details, what kind of actions recruiters are able to do. So if we come to a job page, a recruiter is able to see all the candidates who have applied for a job and all the responses we have received on a particular open position within a same page. And a drill down on any one of these can give them the best matches, give them a preferred ranking over the resumes which have been applied for or which has been posted by. And if a recruiter himself is finding out or searching for candidates, they can tag over here, and it becomes a compiled view for anybody to see that for each role, how many were applied for, how many were inside through the inside we have been able to get, and how many of them a system is able to identify as a better match for us. And that all available in one screen itself gives a comfort for people not to move around through different areas. Similarly, if we look at the other part of it, that what kind of job responses we are receiving. If we look into the responses, that if let's suppose for a particular job we received 100 responses, so out of them, how many are matching the profile, how many are matching with what kind of ranking. Is it an 80% match, or is it a 90% match? Is it ranking in top 10, or is it ranking in top 20? That also system is able to give you at a real-time basis the all responses with the matching responses and the system preferred responses are the 3 different views which is available for recruiter to action quickly. So they don't need to waste their time in looking at every applied candidate one by one. They can go through the system, preferred ones, and then they can go through the matching responses based on the percentage or ranking they believe is right for them.
Yeah, actually, there are multiple screens like this, and thanks, Mohit. I think this has been really intriguing, and certainly we'll be sending out some of the material to our participants who joined the Zoom call and our hundreds of participants who joined us on the LinkedIn. But feel free to write to us in terms of your further queries, your specific questions. If you have got issues in terms of specific industry recruitments, blue collar workers, white collar workers, workers at various levels in various sectors, please feel free to write to us. We've got a lot of insights there, and whatever best responses we can help you out to optimize the data-driven recruitments for you. We'll be able to help. So Rahul, if you can just take us to the email ID where participants can write, I think it will be a
And I think as you rightly said, Sumit, we need more challenge statements and we need more problem statements from each organization to mature the way we are going forward with the product. And that's where we would need your help. Even if you're interested in picking up our mind on some problem statement, we'll be more than happy to understand where it's coming from and what is the solution which our product is able to provide to you.
Absolutely. And basis on our millions of recruitments that we have done over years, we've come up with this product and the approach, which we are more than happy to share for you to leverage and move the matrices on the recruitment process. So with this, I'll thank you, Mohit, for taking us through the details. Thanks, Rahul, Dheeraj, and thank you all our participants for this webinar, and we'll be sending you out the handouts shortly. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for taking time out today. Thank you.